Hello, welcome to another State of the Lab, November 2024. Now that Halloween is over, we are barely standing.
Well, same with much of our community.
Yeah,
The stress of contractors working most of the month and it was crazy, and trying to pull off magic at the same time was a ton of stress.
yeah, no lie. We'll tell you about this chunk of drywall behind her in a bit here.
But we keep going and we plan for the future as we had some major wins this Halloween season that I'm really excited to talk about.
Yeah, the Igor box performed wonderfully at our home haunt.
We quickly remedied the issues that did come up at Fear Reach, the pro haunt that was kind enough to let us test at their entire haunt. So the instances that happened there inspired us to make much greater changes to features in our product, future features in our product.
Wow, that's a tongue twister.
I know.
Glad we're live. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about those last time, but we can talk a little bit more now. We've got even more stuff. So we also can't forget that we wowed the neighborhood again, and that inspired some more future haunters as usual.
The most amazing part of the evening was how flawlessly we were able to make changes in the show and on the fly. So guests loved to see it happen, but then we could take them over and make the whole thing work like a giant puppet. It was really cool.
Yeah, I got to say that it's very entertaining to see both children and adults like jump back when the monster roared and the garage began to open.
Got every There was like one person of every group that seemed to like literally jump backwards when that started up. It was cute.
Yeah, we got a bit of a video for you guys on that one in a bit. But first, let's talk about
The elephant in the room.
what's with the drywall.
So we had that work that we were talking about during the month of October. Uh, and last month, we with the podcast, we alluded to how chaotic our personal life has been. So
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
we'll start there a little bit. Just a smidgen of that is since we bought this house, we saw that just about everything done on it was done by a handyman who didn't know what he was doing. And it's come to bite us
yeah.
quite a bit. The big thing that
The
happened.
handyman can.
Can he really though? So, anyways, the attic had some awful foam in it
so
that
so they
was
did spray foam insulation, which sounds like amazing. It's great,
great. They had
wonderful stuff.
solar and spray foam, and that's supposed to be all wonderful, right? Well,
Except the spray foam was done in sections. It would look like you like went to Home Depot to like buy like the two-part stuff. It might have been just cans of gray stuff. I don't know. It was the wrong mix, and so it was like super spongy.
but other parts were rock hard. So, and then like the parts that were spongy were just like dissolving, and the
And they
parts
were
that
wicking water. More importantly, they were wicking water up against the bottom of the underside of the roof. Which when we got
well,
our roof replaced last year,
we had to get quite a few of those boards replaced because it was rotting out.
so we hired some people to come out and remove the foam, which was a horrible job.
Well, let's just say this is round two of trying to remove the foam. The first round with the contractor who like disappeared out of our lives, uh, yeah, they got about
They got
halfway
halfway.
done, and then they just quit because it was way too much work.
So we finally found another contractor to come out and do that. And then
Which
they
they also said once they were done with it that they
they're
were
never
never
gonna do
gonna
that
do it
again.
again.
They're never gonna remove foam again. Um, and then they put the actual foam in, which was also a fun harangue. It's computer controlled, and it wouldn't spray the first day because
Of
sensors
course,
weren't
anytime
working.
you're dealing with contractors, there's always going to be delays, and we had delays with, of
But they were
course,
awesome. They were
both
awesome.
people, the AC people and the foam
But we
people. The
haven't
foam
talked about the
people
air
were
conditioning yet.
great. Well, we're still talking about how we got that. So the foam people were excellent, but day one of the tear out, towards the very end of the day,
It was 5:30 in the afternoon.
pure
First day.
exhaustion, right?
This happened up there. Watching the general. Oh, there it goes, right through the ceiling. Yep.
Of course, in our already disgusting, crazy laugh.
Which, by the way, where that is where the camera is. So they like he literally fell right next to the camera, like missed the camera, the whole thing.
We got
So
really fortunate, but yeah, there's definitely a massive hole.
yeah, which we took advantage of. Some of you probably saw this on our social media.
We did have some fun with it.
This is part of a theme of the haunted house we'll talk about in a bit here. Um,
Not
and
haunted house. No, 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 no. There's no haunted house this year, which broke the kids' hearts. Like so many of the people
yeah,
in the
yeah, we'll
neighborhood are
talk
like, "When are
about
you
that.
doing that again?" No, no, it
So,
was just
but this is our
a
theme
home haunt
for our home
outdoor
house.
thing.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we made the best of it. There's the hole. You can see right there. There's the bot. Like you can kind of get an idea of where we're at here. So anyway, that was day one, and he had 3 days. So we figure, I was laughing about it. I mean, it's in my garage, right? I'm like, it's not so bad. It's not like you didn't break anything, including your own bones, which was good. You didn't fall through my living room or my master bedroom or
No,
something.
but we did find another area where something got dropped or somebody almost fell through in the guest bedroom, which we were also
Yeah,
sleeping in because
yeah. But on day three,
we were sleeping in the guest bedroom because we'd been living in that side of the house because it was a different air conditioner for a long time because hurricane and AC went out and all the whole 9 yards. So
yeah. So we needed to get the spray foam done before we could like we getting the air ducts replaced and new air conditioner and all this fun stuff.
because the air ducts are basically disintegrating or super gross because they're like originals of the 80s
And so
house,
there wasn't any insulation, so like they were condensating on the inside, and then
which
that
grows mold.
grows all kinds of interesting stuff. But anyway, day three, they're still removing foam. I'm outside talking with the owner, and here we can make that go away so you're not cut off. Outside talking with the owner, and one of the guys comes walking out of my front door,
Oh god, no, no.
and we both looked at each other like, did he go in to go to the bathroom, or where? Wait, what?
I'm out front with Brittany working on setting up skeletons in the yard, just having some fun, right?
And this guy comes out and he goes, I fell through the ceiling. And now he came out of my front door. I'm like, okay, where? And he was like, it was a closet. I'm like, all right, well, show me. So we went back. He showed me where he fell through. He went all the way through, like all the way through. Like
He's lucky he wasn't seriously hurt.
it was our master closet.
It was my closet. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm really bad about like putting my clothes like on a shelf and not actually putting them away. Like they're just stacked. They're folded nicely and they're clean, but we're
ADHD.
both guilty of this, very guilty. And then on top of that, my lingerie drawer was wide open with all my bras and all the pretty things. And that's what caught the majority of the insulation
And
and
that's what broke
drywall
his fall.
mess. And yeah,
So he was covered in lingerie for a moment
no,
there, probably super embarrassed. He didn't have any. He said he didn't get hurt, which was good.
but I'm not sure if he was just hiding it and was dying of embarrassment at that point.
So so that was fun. We made new vent holes in the ceiling. The ceiling's still not fixed, by the way.
No, because we were waiting for the AC people to finish their thing
To
in
make
case.
sure they didn't put any more holes in the
Right,
ceiling.
because of course, the lights are popping down from the ceiling as people are walking around up there, and we're wondering if there's
So
any going to be more repairs. So,
so we just got our air conditioner replaced.
and all
All
the
new
ducts.
ductwork
Hmm.
last week. They finished the day before Halloween.
Yep, but they didn't technically because they still didn't pick up what they said they were going to pick up on Halloween, which is why
Well, we had our old condenser unit, and they left it out there, and they were like they were going to come and pick it up on Halloween, and they didn't. So there was that.
yeah, which part of these things like I'd been waiting and putting out more tentacles or putting things on the side of the house because I didn't want to interrupt their flow of stuff, and it was just like got to that point. It was pretty late on Halloween that after lunch I stuck the tentacle out and was like, screw it, if they come, they can work around it. I was so
Yeah,
mad.
and they didn't.
So it worked out, but
But yeah, so that was like right up to the deadline there, and of course, like our entire you'll see the video. We have some video to show you. Our entire sort of home haunt situation was built around our garage,
it was just a game. We
and
made an
so
interactive game
yeah,
for the
we'll show it
kids,
in a minute.
and
But we couldn't really set it up because they were coming in and out of the garage, right, in through our attic, and whoo, the boss over here was freaking out.
That would be an understatement. I've been wanting to test things for a long time, but it's hard to test everything and get the show like done and
Yeah.
set up if you keep having people coming through and having to tear down and do these other things. So it was again just like it was. What was it? 10 years ago or whatever with the monster in the box. It was a photo finish.
It was. It was. But that moves us on to some major wins. We could talk a little bit about Igor box. First, though, let's switch gears before we keep talking about ourselves and our own home. Let's talk about Fear Reach.
Oh yes, again Austin over at Fear Reach. This is, I mean, they did an awesome thing.
Austin and Kale.
They gave us
awesome.
an entire hallway to take over. Like this is to throw the test at, and
I forgot to load up that video, but
oh no,
we'll be able to, there will be some shorts coming out very very shortly. On YouTube Shorts, that some behind the scenes and some like how it was done, as well as some showcasing of stuff. But yes, we had a hallway in the main event, Fear Reach.
the manor. So there's like the barn with like a Frankenstein thing going on, and there's a chainsaw run, and then there's this beautiful manor, and then outside the manor, like they added this nice graveyard, like church scene thing going and extending it. So we were in pretty much the
Which
heart.
all got destroyed from Hurricane Milton, and they had to rebuild it.
Yeah, yeah, they did a lot in a little bit of time, but we were basically in the heart of the main house.
Yeah, it was great. It was a good test run. We were exercising input boxes, output boxes, um, multiple scenes, multiple like audio, the whole 9 yards, right? So it was pretty cool. We did have to go out there. We talked about this, I believe, in the last podcast, but we did go out there and had to do some field repairs, basic firmware stuff. That's the point of testing, right? But we did get some really cool ideas out of it. One of which was something that we implemented here for our home hunt, which was a iPad virtual input control, which we can talk about in a second. But anyway, to wrap it up on Fear Reach, I think it was, other than the one day that we were out there dealing with like my own stupid firmware problems, I think it went swimmingly. So
I didn't get any
we didn't get any like late night texts, freakouts.
No emergency calls, no like, oh my god, this needs to be fixed right now. There was none of that. Like besides the little things at the beginning with the firmware, like it was really smooth, and I'm still expecting to hear like, oh no, this night this exploded, but I haven't yet. So knock on.
And we've had some really really good conversations with both Austin and Kale.
Mm-hmm.
Some really cool brainstorming sessions on some cool stuff that we want to do.
Absolutely.
So
and also just their input on working with it. It's very, at the moment, it's very similar to a Fright Props kind of thing as far as wiring it up. But we really are frustrated with seeing people who are not the technical people, including myself, struggle with that a bit.
Well, yeah, the point of what we're doing with Igor Box is really to kind of democratize this stuff and make it easier for people who are not
the artists,
the technical people, right? Which is actually the most challenging thing ever, right? I mean, 90% of the work we put into it is
never going to be seen, but it helps make it a lot smoother and easier for the people like me.
It's to make it easy for artists to work with, right? There's a little bit of a different beast. Anyway, on our own home haunt,
you heard it. He called me a beast, folks.
Yes, I did. It's the nicer thing, I say.
Anywho, speaking of our home shenanigans,
should I show the front? Look, there it is. So this was a shot of our front here.
I was poking around Yield Amazon, and there's a video of me years ago getting super excited about like some mummy hands, and I had that same giddy just explosion of excitement when I saw these, because I saw the whole like scenario in my head of what it should be in that instant, and trying to put it into words all in that moment doesn't come out great. But Mike saw the excitement, and God bless him, he let me buy these freaking huge tentacles.
We bought these overpriced huge tentacles, and and they're inflatables, but
which
they're
we are normally very, 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 very against. But
and we had them, coming out of the windows on Halloween. We actually literally had them coming out of windows and doors.
we removed, we last minute, because the day before the AC was fixed, removed the AC portable window unit out of the window in the bathroom and shoved a tentacle through it so
Yeah,
that we could
so
make
yeah,
it
we had
cuter.
that. We had this door right here was open with the tentacle coming out. Right, the whole thing was the monster was growing. Right, and so we set up. I think I finished wiring everything about an hour before we were supposed to start.
Hmm.
Um, I had a lot of sort of like fiddly stuff that needed to be done to get to the point where I could just wire it all to the Igor boxes.
Oh, and then, oh my god, he gets everything like this beautiful arm setup for the motor, and the throw is beautiful, and it's a high torque motor with like, and it's supposed to be
Oh yeah, so
great.
if I
It
go
should
back
work
here,
out wonderfully, right?
so that tentacle in the front there that's wrapping around the column was supposed to move,
And there was another one we had coming out the front door.
they were supposed to move, and I had them attached and they're all rigged up, and the motor and everything, and the motor just it worked maybe 3 4 times, and then it just started slipping, and it was too late
Which
to
was
fix.
horribly frustrating because we're already into like the trick or treat mode, right? So we're like, ah!
So so
that
that was the only thing that like
hurt, but
didn't go well.
the Igor box did beautifully because the first people that came up, like, was trying to do the show and get everything just right because we're stopping the garage only a third of the way up. Yeah, he has the garage involved as well, which is freaking cool.
So
So,
so here, let me just go through what our outputs were.
fair enough.
So our outputs were we had 2 strobe lights that were in the trees that pointed towards the front.
The tree, the big tree.
In the tree, yeah. We had 2 big strobe lights. That was on the first channel.
Hmm.
We had a fog machine, a ground fogger, in the garage to fog out, which is a fun story. Um, that was the second channel.
Bubble machines.
We had bubble machines.
When you hit the monster, the bubble machines would go off.
We had multiple bubble machines, multiple channels. And then we had the garage door opener, which was a fun one to wire up. I hacked a garage door together.
Apparently, they've gotten too safe.
Yeah, so I had to bypass the safety things and whatnot. But then the garage door opener was wired into the to an Igor box, so you could control the garage door up and down. Was there anything else that we had on there? And we had audio, obviously. I think that was basically everything.
Hmm.
And then of course the motor for the arms that
Didn't work.
kind of didn't work. So
But maybe I'll make some snowflakes dance for Christmas time with that on the front porch.
so we had two scenes. We had the garage door open scene, which was the monster was like the garage door opens up. It opens up about a third of the way, and then there's like
The fog rolls
growling.
out with a growling, and it's a scenario where we're throwing the aqua pest repellent pods.
Yeah, we'll show you a video in a second.
In order to create a line, a barrier for preventing the monster from escaping.
And then once they satisfied the barrier, then the second scene we would play the second scene, which was the monster growling and the lights flashing
and the
the
bubble
bubbles
machine going
shooting
off
bubbles
from the
out,
window and the
door
garage.
closed.
Yeah.
So basically, these were 2 separate scenes that typically you would have, to trigger it, you'd have an input box of some sort that, or some sort of input that you wanted, 2 inputs or whatever, one input, one button for scene one button for scene two. But rather than connecting up input boxes, because this was going to be a manually controlled scenes, instead we by suggestion of FearReach, which was I think genius, we created basically an actor controller that was like that was like on the iPad,
Mhm.
that had basically 2 buttons, right? Scene one and scene two, right? And we could add more buttons if we wanted to, that we could use to trigger whatever we wanted, right? So I was running that, and I was triggering the scenes as everything was going. So it was kind of a neat thing because you sort of like because of the way the system works, right? Like we could do that, right? Like we
And we
could.
were making all sorts of changes on the fly. Like the first group that came up, it was super disappointing. We didn't quite have the timing like down, and he didn't have the monster noise for when the monster retreats. And I was like, "What
She's like, you have to
happened?
have these monster noises. I'm
We've
like,
got to
oh,
fix
I'm
it
sorry.
right now."
I thought the monster noise was at. No, I had it for retreating, but I didn't have it for when it first opened up,
Oh, I'm sorry.
which was the best effect,
It
which
was
made people jump back, which is great. So she was like, you got to add it there. So like, boom, on the iPad, boom, add the audio, done, right? And then the real power I think that I noticed as somebody who was first time using Igor Box. I mean, I've like obviously created most of it, but like actually using it and
the
actually like
using the in-person in live like changes with the iPad is really cool. We've
it's the
had
first time I've had a chance to like
it
do it
was
that
all like
wasn't some sort of
hardwired
test.
or testing or like some coding thing or
Or it
whatever.
was like a
No, it was
contrived example where it was like in this scenario, this is what like and they were all scenario based stuff. This was the first time that I got to use my own product as the end user and see the real true sort of power and value.
and it's being able to get that feedback and then immediately change it, and then also like the guests were having fun with it because they'd come and they'd want to see like how we were doing stuff, and we can show them
It was
immediately.
really cool. I could like, be like, oh yeah, you can trigger this and do that.
Which of
But
course, like that's the part where it's like we're basically making the house like a puppet at that point, and it was just way too much fun.
but yeah, it was the real power throughout the entire night was the amount of tweaks that I made throughout the night to further refine
the show,
the show.
the show just got better as the
So
night
like
went on.
basically watching and saying, okay, yeah, no, like actually I need to pull that back, or the
The
fog needs
delay
to
is too
run,
much on this one,
the
or
fog
yeah.
needs to run longer to give us a because again, we had wind to contend with, we had all this stuff, so it was like as the conditions were changing, I was making changes to the scenes and then deploying those changes the system like on the fly, and it just made for a really cool experience, and for me, I was like, this is amazing. Like I was having a great time with it. But
You were a very jovial mad scientist.
yes, so actually we have some video we shot. This is
Ah,
this is actually part of we shot this video to be cut up into basically behind the scenes shorts, right? So everything I just kind of explained, we will have a short soon up on YouTube. But here we can watch the video here. So there I am wearing exactly the same thing I am now. Um, those are our what do you call those things?
the aqua pest repellent pods.
Okay. So here we have the door open, obviously the monster sound, and then throw these pods, and if you notice that they're actually blacklight reflective, or
It's just the plumber's dye. We had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, the it's
so
hard to see in that video, but in the center there, the bubbles come shooting out, and on the side window between the tentacles, the bubbles are also shooting out at the same
there will be
time.
better video of it later. Like I said, we just shot that as something that we
Rookie
did.
mistake. I bought the special UV bubbles, right? Like I was gonna be a badass, like the bubbles are gonna be glowing in that. When did the bubbles end up going off for the best effect? During the strobe with white light.
Yeah,
Duh!
yeah, it didn't work so well. But people were really confused about like how these like balls were glowing. Oh, but we should mention that
Oh,
these
look at the
balls these balls are they're reusable water
water balloons,
balloons.
and then they're really awesome. They're silicone, and they snap together with some magnets, and you can refill them in like a second. So it was perfect
So if I
for.
replay the video real fast, you can see like as we pan past, right? You can see like it's glowing, like it's glowing in there. The liquid's glowing, everything's glowing. There we go. Stop
But
there.
those barrels also, like we had all these plans to do this special cutout and this, that, and the other thing. What it ended up being is some pool noodles, like a feeder.
The Universal Hunters Utility pool noodles.
Pool noodles are very handy. So pool noodles, some like a feeder tray or whatever for like farm animals or something that was pretty good size, and then some black light reflective fabrics, some stripped drawing fabrics, and a shower
Curtain for the
curtain
plastic. Yeah.
on top of a bar stool.
Yeah.
Ta-da!
So, but yeah, we put in the fun effect was when the door kind of opened up and there was a growl and the door started moving, people like adults jumped
We
backwards,
had
like, oh no no no.
we had speakers with a subwoofer on the front porch, so there was a nice deep rumble that was just going
Yeah,
through.
these people jumped backwards. It was
That was
hilarious.
good.
And the other one was the when you'd refill the water in the little bin,
Hmm.
and then I would come with the squirt
So
the squirt thing
yeah,
with the concentrated plumber's dye and like put it in there. People were like, "What is going on?"
everybody was amazed. We had gloves because we were using it in higher concentration than recommended, so people could put the gloves on.
By the end
Um,
of the night, Lisa was glowing in the dark.
I was. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm still like if
So
you
she
put me
was
under black light,
so she
it's
was
all over. Like Eleanor took a picture of me and it was just like splattered all over my face and
she had a
arms.
net she had a net. And basically, when they were throwing this, right, and some kids were like
Okay,
super
okay.
excited
Let's
about it.
talk about this. Like the whole scenario, mad scientist is working on an experiment that goes way out of hand. He calls animal control for a small problem. Animal control shows up. Monster is already mutated, way bigger than he expected because we took too long, and we are
Yes, you
not
guys took
paid.
way too long to show
Animal
up.
control was not paid nearly enough for this kind of scenario, so we are in a hot mess. And in the meantime, the press shows up. So those were the people that were like
That's where all the
helping
people
out.
working
That was
out.
our story. And yeah, these pods, back to these pods, like people were getting so excited about them. I'm with my net that they're throwing them, and they'll stop, they'll go get their candy, and then they'll come back and throw more as I'm trying to get them, and I'm using the net to try and pull these
So she's
pods from the
getting
door.
pelted with with glow water that stains your skin.
Oh, they
So
dead skin. It rinses off. It doesn't really stain, but yeah, it's
it
yeah.
was
It
hilarious.
was pretty funny, and everyone was just like they had way too much fun. It was so cute. And then they got so excited. Like one kid went out and stole one of the
Oh my god,
Wildlife.
no, didn't steal it. It
No,
was a
go
little
on.
kid.
Oh yeah.
It was like a toddler,
Okay, Mike saw it. I didn't.
and it was a he or I can't remember if it was a guy or a girl, but like he or she thought the balls were for the trick or treating, and they took a
Oh no.
full ball
Glow liquid
full of water and put it in
in
their
her
trick or
bag.
treat bag and like walked away.
So there's some child with some very wet kids. And we're
Why is this bag all wet?
sorry. But
Oh,
oh, and it just like on the side, like where the candy table was, we ended up doing like in our neighborhood. It's very popular because there's a lot of adults to do like Jello shots for the adults that come by or whatever. So we
adult
had
beverages
we did a whopping serving for like basically 6 gin and tonics in these Voss bottles. So we had 3 of the glass Voss bottles.
with a UV light on it, and because tonic water has
Quinine.
quinine in it, it glows.
It fluoresces a nice blue. So we're like, okay, we'll put this in our laboratory scene. And then
So they were
Eleanor,
just like sitting there, and then anybody wanted a gin and tonic, I would just get a cup with ice in it and pick up the glowing thing. And there were people that didn't know the tonic water glows, so they were like,
what did
"What did you
you
put in
do?
there?" And I didn't tell them because that's how I am. I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's fine. Um,
But yes, it
it's
was
safe,
totally safe.
totally safe. Don't worry about it." So
but but we ended up having okay, this if you went to Transworld and you saw the monkey head that didn't frickin' move because we had our own issues with this goddamn monkey head. Well, we ended up shoving that in a cage that a friend brought that
an actual real like
animal cage.
trapper cage.
So we're like, okay, it's a right size for just the head part. We'll make it look like the rest is under the table. Cool. I had a monkey paw that I ended up putting on this plasma ball, so it was like clutching it
Like an old like Spencer's Gifts plasma ball.
like
I mean,
legitimately
it's
like old school, yes. And the funniest thing is kids didn't know what the heck it was.
oh, the kids were like, "What is
They
that?"
were
Like,
so entranced.
I'm like, "You can touch it." And they're like, "No," and I'm like, "Yeah, you
It's
can
safe,
touch
it's
it." But
okay.
oh, okay.
And then the kids were the perfect level for this stupid monkey to catch them because it has so many sensors on it and it goes nuts every time the kids are at the table. So they were just having a blast with it.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah,
I enjoyed it. The kids enjoyed it.
watch for the shorts. There's some behind, like we're gonna break down a little bit about how this stuff goes together, and how the scenes were managed in Igor Box.
Let me just say, I know for a fact that you're probably hating the black plastic too. Don't get me started. But like, you weren't ever supposed to see that. I just didn't go to storage and get my own, and that's what the contractor, who was kind enough to leave me some, left me. It was enough for basically the width of my garage door, but not wider, so I could pull it back, and I didn't have any like black velvet or anything. The budget was gone. It went on the tentacles.
Yeah.
So if you have gripes about that, don't worry, I do too. Anyways.
All right, so that was Halloween. It's a good time. We had a good time. We're both exhausted, by the way. Still,
I think they noticed at the very beginning where I couldn't even read. So
I mean, I shaved. I'm still wearing the same thing I wore on Halloween. No, it's not really, but
kind of.
it's my uniform. So,
We,
anyway,
like everybody else, basically has all of Halloween in the garage. It hasn't made
it's
it back.
a wreck over there.
That nice empty spot you saw in the video, like that is now filled with skeletons and pumpkins and tentacles. Well, the tentacles all fit nicely in one barrel, still out in front of the garage.
Yeah.
So yes.
All right, so let's move on a little bit. We've had some interesting changes on the company side of things. We've been migrating things, moving stuff around. But the one thing that you guys can actually see is our risingorchards.com website.
That got a spiffy new update.
It's completely changed. It's a new update. We actually moved providers, and in the process of moving providers, we decided let's redesign it real quick and make it sort of be a little bit more cohesive.
I think it makes a little more sense now on what we actually do, but I'd love to hear feedback.
Yeah, so if you go to www.risingorchards.com, let us know what you think. Does it make sense? I feel like it's a little snazzier. Looks nice. But that's only this beginning of some big changes we're working on the back end with everything, right? All in preparation for Transworld.
Yes.
Because now Halloween is over, straight into Transworld. And we're not the only ones.
Nope, I know there's plenty of people who are on the boat.
So tons of stuff planned for Transworld.
And as much as you guys may hate it, I'm planning on testing again with the new version that Mike is planning on putting out. He's changing the hardware, so what you saw at last year's Transworld will not be at this year's Transworld.
So that's what I refer to in the system as the early access boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our Output 8 EA. They're all marked EA now, which are for early access, right? So those generation boxes are
there are some improvements.
They're actually phasing out. We're actually phasing those out, and we're replacing any of the ones that are out there, right? Like the Fear Reach ones, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Those are going to get replaced with the new Mark II boxes,
which are like modular and like much easier to use, and it's going to be a fantastic change, I think. But it still needs to be assembled and put in my hands for Christmas. So.
Well, I was actually today.
We'll see whether or not I get my snow machine.
I was actually validating a bunch of stuff today. We have bought. When I say we, the royal we. I have bought a lot of new test equipment in the past few months. We have our own,
which is super expensive, but in the long run, when we're trying to make revisions and do this other stuff, it saves us a ton of money.
We have our own EMI testing, pre-testing set up now, electromagnetic interference for FCC certifications. That's kind of cool.
That's amazing.
We have power load testers, all kinds of stuff over in the lab. I was actually doing a burn-in test on a new power circuit, which is going to be the new power supply for the new boxes today.
Which is super efficient. I am so impressed by it.
It's kind of cool because we can get basically 2 amps of power out on half of that. So we can get 2 amps out with 1 amp in. It's a buck converter setup, but it's a switching supply, which is also why the EMI is pretty important, because we can load it and see what sort of interference it has and whatnot. But anyway, we've been doing a bunch of testing today. Yesterday and today has just been like balls to the wall testing, um, and validating the final little bits of the circuit that need to go into the final that need to go into our prototype boards, which we're hoping to have here in the next few weeks, for the new Mark II design, and we'll be off to the races.
Again, we have a lot to do in a short amount of time, and yes, we are planning on testing at Christmas, so we'll see what happens with that. But also, like, we're not done with construction, so we
Yeah,
aren't sure exactly what's going to happen, but something's got to happen. So
yeah. The problem is that they need to fix this hole in the ceiling,
and
but my
all
lab
the sensitive electronic equipment is right
is
there.
is right over there. So it's gonna be a problem.
So he doesn't want to move everything, but I'm trying to talk him into just moving it because we've got another hole over on right next to all that equipment. Like that was because
Yeah,
we had the panel
but
box
like I
changed
can't,
out.
like we really can't afford to take the downtime, so we got to put it somewhere. That's the problem. And there's a lot of equipment over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So stay tuned to find out what we do because we don't know.
But I got one of those really cool. Speaking of cool things, I got one of those really cool FLIR like video camera guns.
Oh yeah, he's been having a really good time with
Oh
that.
man.
He's gonna
Okay.
use that for everything. Like I wish we had it when we had our ball python. Like it's awesome.
So like, so this. Let me tell the quick story about how I burnt my finger on testing a stupid circuit. We I was doing some testing, and you know the temperature testing was I couldn't get a thermocouple where I needed to get it because of sort of the component, and the component shouldn't have been getting hot, or significantly hot, and so I was doing the old touch it with your finger, right? Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's getting warmer, that's getting warmer. And I actually was using the wrong rated resistor without getting too deep into this, and it was dissipating a lot more power than it should have. And so it got hot enough that it melted the solder, and I put my finger on it and slid it
It's
right off the board, and all the solder got on my finger, and it hurt. And at that moment, I said, I need a better way of checking the temperature of these things. That was a mistake. There was a confluence of mistakes that led to that, but it's kind
That's
of
why
nice.
we have even more equipment now for testing.
Yeah, but it was kind of cool to load up the power supply to its max limit. Actually, took it past it. It was rated for 2 amps. I was running it at 3 amps today to see what was going to fry, and nothing fried. And with my handy dandy FLIR, I could see that it was about 100 degrees, which is negligible, with no airflow, so no fans or anything. So yeah, it was that's what we're doing right now is validating the next gen designs and getting the prototypes.
And getting some good sleep. I'm tired, folks, and I'm sure you are too. You mind wrapping this up?
Oh yeah, well it is an hour later because daylight savings time.
Screw that, man. Why do we do that? Like, I really thought like we were gonna be like some of the other states that have abolished that, but no. No, we're just gonna continue to torture old people.
Old people.
Oh yeah, a bunch of people die every year because of like the change. It stinks like their heart can't take it or
It's
something.
1 hour.
I know, but it screws a lot of people up. Look into it. I'm not lying.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know. I woke up at 1 o'clock this morning to the
Oh
television.
no.
And
you're going into this.
I watched a TV
This is
show.
just devolved into chaos. But anyways,
I watched a TV show. And it was like I was tired.
It was late
like
night aliens.
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And I'm like, okay, 1 o'clock. I look at my phone. It's like 1 o'clock, 1:01 or something. And I'm like, okay, let's see, fall asleep watching the show. And I watched a good, what felt like an hour, and then I looked at my phone and it said 1:02 or 1:03, and I was
Time
like,
travel. No,
I'm like, wait, what? How is it? I feel like I've been watching this for a lot longer than 2 minutes. Yeah, because it was an automatic time change, but it was too early in the morning for my brain to register that.
Yeah, what did I wake up forensic files and like thunderstorm brain things is basically our thing that we'll put on like if we're having a hard time falling asleep. So I had like a thunderstorm thing on that was supposed to be good for 10 hours.
No.
It went into some weird autoplay thing. I
I
don't know what
watched
happened.
I watched National Geographic's UFO extravaganza or
It's
whatever.
like a 3-hour documentary thing, or I think it's 3 different little episodes smashed together for
and then
the history of the coming out of the UFO stuff or
like
whatever.
I watched the last hour of it, and then I then it autoplayed to like the Orion splashdown from 2022 or 2000.
That's when I wake up, and I'm like, because I'm
I'm
hearing
like
the
watching
announcer
this.
for
I watched
NASA,
this.
and I'm like, what?
Like I watched it for like 5 minutes, and the guy was explaining what was going on, and it was perfect. I fell right asleep.
Sometimes you just find that right voice, like I said, the forensic file guy
Oh,
has it.
everybody
That's just
knows the
that.
forensic files guy.
Oh, it's just the cadence is right,
If
the
you know
flow is right.
what's really fun is you can take any phrase from forensic files and remix them around
Oh,
and take
yeah.
the phrase and they'll sound like he said it
Mhm.
because they all start on the same tone and end on the same tone, so they can just be mixed and matched. You would never know, other than you're like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't think he's real. I think it's early AI. Wow, we're tired.
You've just gone off like whoosh. Anywho, thanks for joining us. It was amazing to have you guys around. It always is. We're gonna catch up on some sleep, and hopefully next month we'll have a little more pep in our step.
Yep, and 4 months to Trans World.
If I start losing more hair, you know why.
We'll see you at Trans World.
Later.